Okay, seems to be stable. Been having trouble with the script this morning. Today is Sunday, June 22nd, 9th at 2:30 in the morning. Sorry for the hair. I just wanted to kind of get this ironed out. This vision, and I've been dealing with Copilot, not in a good way. Well, not just trying to find all of the stuff that I had worked on before. So right now, trying to figure out. I think I'm down to my MVP. Just trying to relax and get this right for her so it doesn't get confused. We're on a journey. We're supposed to be before my computer had to restart. Then I lost it all. Again, this is just again. The other thing I noticed about Copilot that you have to be careful of is that it it not only loses what it is that you do when you reboot. Well, no, it doesn't. There's a time period, and then it goes dark, which is interesting compared to a human because humans have memory, and computers are supposed to have memory, but this is a RAM-based thing, and it would be interesting to know how much storage it would take to actually remember stuff. It's fascinating to think about comparing all this stuff. But now, right now, I'm trying to. Part of me wants to just wrestle by this with myself outside of the cam because I do end up thinking much better because I'm not trying to perform. But at the same time, I just don't know the. Well, let me just shut up, Kevin. And I have my coffee because I need to take breaks. Not breaks, but actually, coffee really helps in the morning, obviously. Okay, what I'm wrestling with. There are. So let me try to summarize this up here. Ultimately, there. I don't know if this is. I'm trying to communicate that here in this. My world is filled with all of these challenges being a tech, and I'm obviously just trying to get out of that. But I realized that if I could come up with a way, because I'm competing with so many people, instead of trying to compete for the, because every time I go to a job, it costs me. Let me say this way. every part, everything in the real world takes time. And this is really getting to the heart of what gets me so angry. What's going on with this ultimate? There's a dollar amount, right? And that's the other thing that I have to think about is this particular version has lost track of my whole LinkedIn profile stuff. And so I'm also wrestling. My mind is racing behind the scenes about all the things I need to do today too. Sunday, I have all my meal prep, have church, and okay, just focus on this one statement. Right? Ultimately, there's a real ultimate. How do I say this? Ultimately, there are real dollar amounts on every job. There are so and this needs to not be in Copilot. This needs to be in some kind of a statement. The other thing that I've just been completely honest about is I have all this data. Well, let me focus on this, Kevin. Let's just stay here, focus. And it's so much easier when I'm not on cam. But at the same time, yes, this does help me focus, be accountable to what I'm thinking. Because somebody's listening to my ears, not necessarily my voice. So many costs. Because ultimately, if this algorithm is helpful, right, every job, trying to think through how to say it. To contract. Budgeted for 2 hours. And this is the other thing, it's hard to know. What I'm trying to do is come up with the actual cost of work because people that are starting out have no concept of how expensive it is. And if they don't have any concept of it, you're not going to bid properly. I understand. It's the desperate part. But see, how do I communicate all this? Because also, when it's in Copilot right now, I ended up struggling trying to get. I exported all the Copilot stuff, and it puts everything in this massive history when I export it all, so that I can have. Because I've been keeping the history copied to where it's relevant, so I don't have to do a find for something like this and wade through. Unless I also then kind of come up with some kind of a name. What's the word? Naming convention. So, like a hashtag. I put that in my messages here. I'm just trying to think through some stuff. Give me a second. I'm trying to build something that's on the tech side. Trying to think about how to say this. I need to use my words. Sorry, I'm just used to thinking in my head. Every single thing takes time. And if you're going to be profitable, you have to at least account for not only your time, but, well, yeah, I mean, that's ultimately just it's the time and physical things. Right now, I'm competing against a job for tomorrow But the most basic kind of thing. But this is my world. I am stuck. So I'm really embarrassed to admit somebody of my caliber is not stooping. It's work. I have to come in 24 hours before that. I have to confirm the job. And then that absolutely locks me in. I can't. Uh, it's a big deal to commit or cancel something that's been confirmed. And in Field Nation, I ended up doing that twice because not I didn't confirm it, but I ended up canceling because the scope of work wasn't 100% clear about what tools they needed. It was on me to bring them, and if they can't answer that simple question, then I can't go. So that's kind of the just normal stuff of life here. But I have to first of all block that time in my calendar. I can't do anything else on that day. See, it's hard. How do I communicate? Should I put this in my notes? I have a calendar tag that kind of keeps track of this stuff, which is because the other thing is that I am ultimately, and maybe that's why this is so messed up for me mentally, is that I'm trying to think about this from the tech's perspective to protect him, to be his advocate, because I don't think anything else exists that's focused on that. I shouldn't say anything. I don't know. Ultimately, what I'm realizing is that I waste my life bidding jobs that I keep every single job. I try to go above what the budget is because I think that I'm worth it in all my tools. But the people that I Kevin, let me not even go here because ultimately this has to get not recorded on my voice because everything that I say has to get out so that it becomes part of the value stream. Ultimately, that's the other thing that's hard. It's just to capture all that. This has been, I ended up writing a 14-page document called Why I Charge a Trip Charge, which has all this stuff in it. Because I end up just reacting to people, not with anger, but just and try to sit down and think, okay, wait a second, this is why I'm worth it. And nobody, because I'm competing with people who have no concept of that. The market is so trashed because all this cheap labor has come up, and in order, or I don't even know. See, my brain is I'm off on so many different directions. Heavenly Father, good morning. Thank you for giving me another day. I've already worshipped you today, but I just need your help, please. Not get angry. I can't afford these panic attacks. I've been working on Copilot for these times, so I haven't been journaling. Sorry for involving you in my thinking, but at the same time, I think this is really what the value of what I'm trying to build is, because this is really, really, really the heart of who I am and what. Oh, shut up with that. Prompting is helpful, but if you don't have a clear vision, it doesn't matter, right? Because ultimately, he had picked up on the co-pilot had picked up on all of this phases. Gibbs scraping from Field Nation work mark. I know this is what's so embarrassing too, is that it's not sexy. you know, this is not building this huge thing for these billion-dollar companies. I'm trying to actually do something for a class of people that don't have money. Ultimately, that's right. Then I keep thinking Jesus cares about the poor. I don't understand that. And I keep thinking that ultimately I don't have a ministry to people unless I get in front of them. And so by doing this, maybe I can share the gospel. And so that's where the whole burden comes down. I have to be on the tech side. I can't be on the businesses side. And that, again, just flows in the face of everything else. One of the, made me narrow out in one of the vice presidents when I was starting this whole corporate world at client services in Illinois. She presented this chart, the org chart. She was on the bottom as a VP, and we were above her. And she said, "I'm here to serve." And I know that from a Christian perspective, but then from hear another Christian say that in the business world, it's like, bam, that's huge. And she was. She was a great leader because people serve people, and ultimately, this is what I'm trying to do. This has to serve, help them understand. Not the exact. That's what Field Nation and Work Market do, and they abuse people. Check off. I also understand. Well, get this out paper. I understand that there are budgets, right? What I'm what I'm trying to ultimately do. Okay, this is really getting me. This is really disruptive. I understand that there are budgets with what we need. Like, we need to have a platform. We do market needs because you have to be able to get something done at $50. Although shame on you for not thinking of people, because ultimately that's just what it all comes down to. Every time something changed. Oh, I'm going off on this. Something changed in my life last November. I thought it was a drug test thing because I missed it and I started losing gigs around that time. But okay, I don't want to be stressing out 3 in the morning. Let that go. But at the same time, this is where I'm facing right now because people like Granite are ultimately responsible for the dollars. Oh man. I'm on to something right now. Right. This is the other thing. I don't want to go down mentally because I don't want to say ultimately this is what I do, behind the scenes. I end up stressing out like this. Ultimately, God is sovereign over everything, and I know that. But I'm trying to involve you in this process so that you can see, because nobody sees this side of being stressed and worked up. They just expect that the tech's going to be there, and at no charge. There's so much that people have no concept of. And that's why ultimately I keep thinking maybe I used to get a trip drive for over 1,000 jobs. Ultimately, I think God is using this to figure out how to do what I'm doing here. Right, I mean, this really could be disruptive. Focus, God. I end up just journaling like this. And now it's hard for me to let you wait for me while I think, which sucks. But I just want this to be recorded because there's so much stuff that has to go on behind the scenes. And what I'm trying to do, it helps me to talk about it as if I didn't know, as if the person is completely ignorant. How do I explain this? I'm trying to do. I The reason why I've been able to survive for 8 years is because I build people for my time. I know it sounds like a simple concept, but market. People are so new to the world. Right. Well, but at the same time, there's I think maybe just a whole cultural thing. This whole church thing. How do I explain this quickly? Oh, I think I've done this other times before, but I'm on cam now, so no idea. I think one of my years, one of the first years I did, I made like $19,000. It's embarrassing, but I ended up starting to stand up for myself and trying to build a trip charge because the trip charging encompasses the rest of the job, all of the expense that goes behind the scenes. There's two worlds. What happens when you get on site? Come on. I think I had all this explained before. I laid all this out, but I know that I have. But now I'm here on camp, so now I have to go through it. This is just business 101. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do is really disrupt that by standing up for the tech. Because if he has no concept of how much it costs, it's not even thought about it. It's just like, yes, I got $150. But the other thing is that there's just so much saturation, so it really doesn't matter from my perspective. I'm always going to lose because their budgets are down and even the dollar is worth less. So I have to get out, and that's what I'm trying to do here. But I'm also then trying to put my experience out there. So that's where I'm accountable for God for is what I do with my life, and ultimately for the kingdom too. But now I'm stuck. I'm not building the kingdom here at this moment. I'm talking about money, which I understand is part of the whole thing. I really do get it. I just at times think I'm a teacher, right? I should be teaching people the Bible, not arguing for more money. It's just completely messed up. Father, give me clarity. Get my ego out. You're You're a righteous God who sees all injustice. You're going to judge at that ultimate day. I don't want to be part of that judgment. I want to do things that are right and true that bring you glory. Ultimately, that's all that matters. Father, help me understand how to put this into clarity. Thank you for waking up at 1 o'clock. I do every day. I wake up and I think, thanks God for giving me another day. How can I praise you? You know that. Help me get the emotion out. Just help me to not think about injustice. You're going to be the judge. I am simply right now trying to figure out how to use my life, my experience, to help the underclass. That's why I have to stop. Let you speak to me. Father, thank you. Christ in my life. Right? This is the other thing that I have to just. That's why it's so good just to stop, wait. You were talking about getting scraper jobs. Ultimately, this is ultimately this is just this. That's why this could be so big, even outside of the text. How do you determine value, profitability? What's happening right now in my life is I'm not even bidding jobs because I just know they're not profitable, and everybody's like, Kevin, you stupid. Maybe that's where this goes. I that's what's here. I know this intuitively, right? When I look at jobs, I see, right? to show you. Ultimately, I can see this as being really helpful. I'm trying to think where this is. In the past, it was on my phone as a separate sheet. Let me see if I can find it. Come on. Giggles. Oops. Sheets and giggles. That's funny. I'm trying to think. Oh, I don't want that. Google Sheet. Right, where's my Sheets page? Google Sheets. Come on. What ended up happening over time is nobody even came close because it was so expensive. Come on. Really? Good Sheets. I didn't want good. I wanted Google, please. Oh, okay. This was updated last year, but this is, and creating all these. See, that's the other thing I need to do. Awesome. Create the bed for me. See, this is where, come on, I ended up just creating all these locations where I was trying to do big trips, trying to figure out what is my actual cost to get there. Never thought about putting this into an algorithm. That would be really, really big. Trying to show you the where again I would always do this on my phone, but there was one sheet. There's the okay. These are all the bids that I did in 24. I stopped using this, so it's because I just realized every time I would come up with my costs, it's like, what's the point of even doing work if I'm not profitable? So what I'm doing is helping the tech understand. See, I ended up creating this tagline, and I would just copy this and paste it into the bid. That's what I need to be doing. Completely automate the billing. Right, but then what's going to end up happening is, well, because of the true cost of stuff. For example, I I had these fields here, where I could come up. I just I saw the mileage one way on the app. I just entered that number, and then I ran a Google map to see how much travel I would take, and then I would write one way here. And on this one, we do this calculations to go back, and I would look at the actual cost of the vehicle, not only for financing, but the cost for depreciation, fuel costs. So it cost me $1.67 according to this spreadsheet just to move 1 mile. And so in this example, I had this calculation that did its thing. Now, I'm open to whether or not that's accurate, the best way to calculate all that stuff. But I can't even tell you how many weeks of my life trying to figure this out. But once I had something, I ended up just using it because it copied this thing here because it just calculated concatenated all the miles, things like that I put in there. So yeah, I mean, 25 years driving one way with everything required, 208 miles, 4 hours round trip. What we're what I'm competing with is people who have no concept of how expensive it is to do the work. If you're going to bid zero for what costs you $500, this is why I keep coming up with the sense of injustice. Because people are abusing people who have no concept of what right and wrong is. And that's why I just keep running into this concept of injustice. That's why it's good that this is being recorded. Because I just know this, intuitively. But people who are walking into this have no concept of it. And like I said, I stopped using this years ago because I just realized there's no point. What ends up selling is what can be sold. Right? There's no concept of justice as far as for me to go, and people have no concept of who I am, what I bring. So ultimately, I'm trying to figure this out. Then is if this information gets out, it's going to completely destroy Field Nation worldwide. That whole profitable, right? No, there's always going to be people who are desperate. But I guess that's why I'm so grateful that this went into this train of thought so that it can be out there. That moving a van is expensive. And if you don't bill people for your time, you're a complete slave. Even now, as I just get so angry that tomorrow I ended up bidding zero just because I'm desperate. This is like, and I'm going to end up being angry when I arrive because I just have been feel like I've been raped, and no people have no concept of this. That's again why I'm so glad this is being and people you know don't care. I get it. They just want something cheap. I get that too. I really do. That's why it's such a terrible time for me to be in. I'm trying to figure out how do you survive, and then how do you use all that I have. Maybe back on the whole concept of profitability. I'm trying to figure out how to counter that. The other thing is outside of the algorithm. How do you determine value? Because this is just a basic 101 thing, but we're dealing in a world right now that when God told me about this, when I was thinking about this girl, was help her, the girl who has no concept of all of this, because that's where somebody like me can come in and help, be his advocate. Right. Where I'm going is so obscure. Right? That's what's so. I just keep laughing about. Who cares, Kevin? Why are you waking up at 3 o'clock? Why are you so excited about this? Not excited. Well, because I don't even have any concept of if people are gonna. Right? But if And the proper way. This is the whole concept I was on with Copilot, was trying to compare my vision with what smarttechs AI. Right? All of the different things that smart tech AI could be, what the market is doing. Right? This is his understanding atonement. Uh, this is under. Well, this is where I am right now. Platform where the tech works for the tech. That's interesting. I said that. Interesting. It got that concept in that way. Really interesting. Because ultimately, that's kind of. And there's no money in this. Ultimately, where the money is going to come. Right? Yeah. Let's think about this. Yeah. And ultimately, Copilot could have told me this too. But get text on the platform. This is where the rebellion is going to happen. Just like in the past, I was explaining this before with the unions. I'm not a Democrat, but I understand the value of the union. They fought for the people, and there's nobody that's fighting for the tech right now. I remember. I remember in Chicago, every time I would go out to a union job, I would just look at the install and just be completely amazed. That's the other thing I should be doing, or focus on this for a second. This is why it's so helpful to be recording, because these are all the behind the scenes things, just to be able to get. Right? Because ultimately, I think what God is doing right now by not giving me work is He's giving me the time to think, pray, and get His direction. But it's so funny that I think that I'm worth. Oh, it doesn't matter. I kind of let it go. I'm not a Democrat. I understand the value of the union to be collective bargaining, training. Because I remember I remember seeing. I, I was never trained. I understand the whole concept of the union exists for this reason, and somehow I got around that. Every everything in my life, I got around without any education. I've been the VP of multiple businesses. Oh, it doesn't matter. And what sucks is that I've lost all the photos in that at life in Illinois. So funny. People have no concept of all this stuff. See, all the concerts union came up here in my thought because right now that's coming out. with or for. Wow. That is a pretty big statement right there. Because ultimately, wow. Once I have people on the platform, I can either oh, because ultimately that's the, from a business perspective, that's the goal is to get these big companies going through me. You do that by having the text on the platform. Come on. Yeah. How do you get text on the platform? Yeah. Right? Yeah, because this is really ultimately where things are going to go. Yeah. Thank you, Lord, for answering my prayer. Help me see if there's anything else. Right? This is ultimately what I would be doing so many days, just praying and asking for direction. And I have to be really careful. I don't want to claim to be a prophet of God. I'm not speaking in his name. But I do pray and I ask for direction. And then when this stuff comes out, it's like, okay, it's hard to know what is just completely on myself, but at the same time, see, yeah, I know it's nothing to me. But to people who are watching this who think, Kevin, you got all this experience, you should just know this. Yeah, but yes, I do know this. It's coming out of my brain. But when I hear the Spirit of God, I know His voice. And I don't mean to be a super Christian by that statement. I just know it. That's why I just need time to sit and listen. I'm trying to also just get this as clear as possible. Ultimately, I'm responsible for this too, and that's why it's also freaking scary. Right? Imagine having a tech force with billions of dollars. It's freaking nuts to me. What's overwhelming is the responsibility of trying to lead that group and ultimately try to figure out how to point them to Christ. It's freaking overwhelming. I give them back. Focus, Kevin. But you have to. This is the other thing that's really important, and it's going to be really hard to quantify the whole concept of profitability. But this is probably the most important thing. I want to stop to make sure I'm getting the whole process, profitability. You can choose to go and do work that's not profitable. I'm not saying don't do that. Determine oh boy, what? Why is this? Why am I going as twice? I think that's on me being profitable. That's different than tech. How do I explain this? Ultimately, that's what it's, the whole concept of a business degree is focused on that one question. not, not, not steps, not getting them on the plan. That's not the right word. That's not my marketing plan. Right? This is my offering. Right. This is a much better way to say my offering. Now I can actually just sit down, get through all the noise. He's got the offering, and that's what's helpful just to stop. Even thinking about work. So I'm doing this on Sunday morning. My offering. Freaking me out. I was seeing all of huge impact and so hard to know. Right, because the tech is like the underclass. Nobody says it, but we have to take third, we go in back entrances, just like the slaves. That was true in Chicago, big time. They had all these elevators that were just for techs behind the scenes. You didn't interact with the people. Remember the first time I realized that? I was going up back alley. This was in the arts downtown Chicago. I remember getting this is when I was starting out. I just left a VP job where I was going. I was on. I was by Lucid Technology, so there are awards and things like that. I was sent to these big things on islands like Bahamas, Tech Masters. Now I'm going in the back secret elevator. I just remember thinking, okay, well, it's okay. Don't let this be a pride thing, Kev. At the same time, I'm like, wow, it's a completely different world. That's why I have to keep this in mind. I have to remember that this is for the receptionist who has no concept of what it means to be a tech. Hopefully, that's who, as the market expands and even as all these people that are coming in, that's why The market is just so saturated with people, and I have to stop competing with it, and then give them a platform where they're paying me because nobody gets all this stuff. I shouldn't say nobody. There's people out there. People go to business degrees just to figure out if something is profitable. And when people route jobs that are just like they're just suckering people. And that's why it's like no, I just because I know like even the jobs like I said before tomorrow, it's on my brain. I have to be aware that that's going tomorrow. So that's a big deal, and that takes mental effort. I understand that that's just normal, but in the past, I used to get paid for all that. But even people didn't understand why I charged what I charged. Okay, focus. The whole concept of charging money again is just completely gone because the market is so saturated. Oh, right. Okay, back to my offer. What's the reason for that? Why help people understand that? Because if you're going to do the work, you have to understand. Ultimately, this could be helpful to get people out, so it's not so separate. Right. Right. So this is where because when people are That's why I keep having these panic attacks. There's got to be a reason for even getting up. Panic attacks happen when I don't trust God. Ultimately, I realize the market is changing, and I lost a lot of good clients who were happy because ultimately I don't make a lot of money. I just be completely honest. But the trip charge was the only thing that kept me profitable, and now it's gone. So ultimately, that's why I'm freaking out. But now it's like, okay, God said, stopping that so I can just refocus. Help next to know the expenses. This is the other thing. Ultimately, you just have to understand that. Business 101. Well, let's not go that way right now. The other thing I want to talk about is my offer. What? Scrape. I need to just focus on that offering because I got this right now. Scrape jaws. I don't know if that's neat. Ultimately, there's no such thing anymore as a trip charge. So it almost becomes because that's the other thing is, oh, get this out. Set big picture. Key breakers are red. Oh, I lost it. Right? People, again, I'm building this for the person who has no concept of what it means to be a tech. Each phase of the job. accountability is the most basic thing, right? I'm really treating them like an idiot, but at the same time, I think that's God said they do for the receptionist who had no concept of what it means. And ultimately, they're paying for the service. I don't think anybody else is going to give them a wake up call. Right. There was one company that did give me a wake up. I just laugh. Right? See, what I'm getting to here right now is all of this stuff. All, all the stuff. Text me to do. That's why it's a subscription. Right? Right? I know of zero services out there that are doing what I'm envisioning right now. That's again why I'm so glad Camp's here. Part of this whole thing is trying to just figure out the whole concept of the smart tech. And that's the other thing that's hard is that AI is going to fail too. I saw this one video yesterday about these different call flows end up failing 60% of the time. That's the other thing is part of this is just letting people grow up and be a man. It's hard to know where that balance is. If you're gonna succeed, you should succeed on your own merit. Right. Yeah. Right. This is why I get it as a whole negative thing. But at the same time, this is ultimately, I just keep coming back to that receptionist. She had no concept of what it meant to be a tech. And if people are willing to pay for this service, how to be a tech. Right? Right? So, it's what I'm coming up with is big time commitment. That's the other thing. Stay with focus for a second. Right? This is where I said, met zero people out there that have what I have as far as all these 22 systems of stuff. Um, just focus. Get the offer out. Food. Right? And we end up thinking about this, but if you have a subscription, it helps you think through that. This is one of the most biggest things because people end up going out to fast food that ends up not being helpful. Not leaving, right? See, I mean, this is just like this big thing. Ultimately, because this is where the whole AI comes at this from an unhuman perspective. Oh, okay, but this is really helpful though. So I could just paste this in here and have him evaluate them. But that's what the other thing is. I just have to have it first. That's why I'm valuable. Is I'm willing to wake up whenever God wakes me, and to have all this experience. Ultimately, in a market world, capitalism, we're supposed to be rewarded for all this work. My offerings, help tax, no other expenses. Evaluate you, Lodi. What? Okay, I think that's not right. I need to start this again. Because what happens in my brain is if I don't, it's so much better just to sit down and try again. Because that doesn't get it. Oh, come on, come on, really? Why is it's not numbering? Please, let me also save this. As you watch, there's going to be a power failure. Although I'm on a UPS. Oh, come on, please, God. No, you don't come back. Okay, so let's just try this again. Right? What the heck? Shift tab. It's moving fields. Come on. Just want this to work. It's like, come on. this is where I'm gonna sit down and get this right. And it's like, nope. When I tab, no way. So it's like, come on. Now I'm fighting with this. Okay, just step for a second. Two dots, right? That should kick me in. Second. Come on. It should be doing the rest of this like that. Okay. Profitability. Scraping jobs. Yeah. Scraping jobs. Oh, because it's more than scraping the jobs. Can I type here? Yes. Okay. That's. Oh, that's what just evaluate if it was coherent. This is where again it becomes really hard between the whole concept of experience. Right? Evaluate if it was coherent with what I was thinking. Because sometimes the jobs are just not coherent. Right? This is a big time automation. Huge. Yep. Oh boy. It's freaking me out. I see how much work this is going to be. And I see all its potential failures for it. Because it's all based on this new smart AI stuff. Maybe, well, just put this out. Ultimately, this is what ultimately matters. And again, I don't know. Right? This goes all back to the whole bigger picture of stuff. I was just trying to get my offerings, but at the same time, I have to have this bigger picture. Continuing the saga here. I keep coming back. I was gonna, I think I was gonna end this because it's 5 in the morning, and just to say, I gotta go out. It's Sunday still, but I have to go out and run, and there's all my Sunday prep I gotta do in the house, but I just keep coming back. There's I gotta get this offering out finished. Because the other thing is also coming up. I gotta figure out how to say this. How do you determine? Because ultimately, this is right tech. And this is gonna do the same thing, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna go. Because this is where the whole thing. You have to train people to make that jump, but more and more people are getting out of the loop. This is the other thing. It's just really huge, right? Just going back. Ultimately, this is something I would just be working on during the day, right? It's a weird thing. Ultimately, text. Oh, focus on it. The second. These are the right. But I can also have AI come up with this. But this is my perspective. This is where humans matter. We have experience. We have judgment. We have discernment. It'd be interesting to ask. Because ultimately, this is the future of all this. Is agents are being done by agents. Here's how a smart dispatch agent would pick. See, that's actually pretty helpful because I didn't communicate anything like that. Right? This is why this just takes time to try to figure out how to build something. Because ultimately, I just have to get the vision out. Ultimately, this is where, because this is also where all of this stuff is complete. Oh no, my battery's dying on my headset. Okay, I'm gonna give up on this, and I'll continue this uh, probably tomorrow. Right? Okay, I gotta stop. That's why it's so overwhelming. How do you decide what's relevant? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here in the my offering. That's why this is so huge. Performance metrics. CSAT. Oh, customer side. That's the other thing that's missing in this whole thing is the customer's rating. Why? Right? This is this building. Right? This is just why, again, this becomes so overwhelming because this is where I failed. I didn't want to go out and get a customer. A Google rating because I didn't think text rating. But this is more reason for this platform, right? Because that's what all this public stuff. Oh boy, oh, so important. Text rating by the buyer, which really doesn't matter. By the end user. There's no see. That's the other thing is there's nothing like that at all in Field Nation. Okay, I gotta stop because my battery's gonna die in my headset, and I just wanted to keep going. But see, this is where I got up and they're so much more productive in the morning. And I guess that's why I want to make this. I just want to ask people for more time. Because ultimately, it's the agent who's going to choose. And if you have ideas, ideas, oh boy, this is really big. Anyway, for agents, this is ultimately the thing that got me into the whole concept of AI and where things are going is these agents who are making the choice to work for the small business. This is really, wow. I mean, right? This is where I keep coming back to